Good morning. Welcome in RNQ NIOS classes, chapter number 6 Indian Languages and Literature First. Sagar and Samir went to Andaman and Nicobar Island for a holiday. They had a very good time out there playing in the sea and seeing so many small things of Iceland, but they faced some problems also. They could not understand the language which the local people were speaking. As a result, they missed out on many things the tribals would have told them about themselves. From this, you can understand the importance of language. Language is medium through which we express our thoughts, while literature is mirror that reflects ideas and philosophies which govern our society. Hence, to know any particular culture and its tradition is very important, that we understand the evolution of its language and various form of literature like poetry, drama, and religion and non-religion writing. This lesson talk about the role played by different languages in creating the composite culture heritage that characteristic our country India. Now discuss objective. After reading the lesson, you will be able to examine the rich literacy heritage of India, develop an awareness of the variety of the languages and literature in India, list the different kinds of languages and literature in India, appreciate the diversity and underlying unity among the languages and literature of India, and recognize the importance contribution of India to world literature. Indian language, the role of Sanskrit. Ever since human beings have invented script writing has reflected the culture, lifestyle, society, and the polity of contemporary society. In the process, each culture evolved in own language and created huge literary base. The literacy base of civilization tells us about the evolution of each of its languages and culture through the span of centuries. Sanskrit is the mother of many Indian languages. The Veds, Upanishads, Purans, and Dharm Sastra are all written in Sanskrit. There is also a variety of secular and regional literature. By reading about the languages and literature created in the past, we shall be able to understand our civilization better and appreciate the diversity and richness of our culture. All this was possible because of the language that developed during that time. Sanskrit is the most ancient language of our country. It is one of the 22 languages listed in Indian constitution. The literature in Sanskrit is vast, beginning with the most ancient thought embodied in Rig Veda, the oldest literary heritage of mankind, and Jan Avest, Jan, Jan Avesta. It was Sanskrit that gave impetus to the study of linguistics scientifically. During the 18th century, the great Gramian Panin analyzed Sanskrit and is a word formation in his univ- unrivaled description grammar. Ashtadhyayi. The Buddhist Sanskrit literature include the rich literature of the Mahayana school and Hinayana school also. The most important work of the Hinayana school is the Mahavastu, which is storehouse of the story, while the Lalita Vistra is the most scared Mahayana text, which supplied literally material for the Buddhist of Aswa, Aswagosha. Sanskrit is perhaps the only language that transcended the barriers of region and boundaries from the north of the south and the east of the west. There is no part of India has not contributed to be or been affected by this language. Kallahan Raja Rajataran Guinea gives a detailed account of kings of Kashmir, wherewith Jonar Jonar Raja we share the glory of Prithvi Raj. The written of Kali Das have added beauty of storehold of Sanskrit writing. Other great literacy work which marked the golden era of Indian literature, including Abhijanam, Sakhu, Sakuntalam, and Meghdut by Kalidas, Sapna Vasant by Basha, and Ratnavali by Sri Harsha. Some other famous works are Chanakya, Arthasastra, and Vastyayanam Kamastra. The Veds. Veds are the earliest known as literature in India. The Veds were written in Sanskrit and were handed down orally from one generation to the other. Do you know that? Do you know that preservation of the Vedas till today is one of the our most remarkable achievements to be able to keep such a literary wealth as the Vedas enact when the art of writing was not there and there was a paucity of writing material is unprecedented in world history. The word Veda literally means knowledge. In Hindu culture, Vedas are considered as internal and divine revelations. They treat the whole world as one human family. Vasudev Kutumbakam. There are four Vedas, namely the Rig Ved, Yajur Sam Ved, Atharva Each Ved consists of Brahmans, the Upanishads, and the Arun, Arunya, Arunyas. The Rigved, Samved, and the Yajurved are collectively known as an Taraji. In latter years. The Atharvaved was incorporated in this group. Rigved. The Rigved is earliest of the Ved. It is collection of 1028 hymns in Vedic Sanskrit. Many of these are beautiful description of nature. The prayers are largely for seeking worldly prosperity. It is believed that these recitations are naturally outpouring of Vedic rishis experiencing a mentally transcendental state. Some of the well-known as rishis are Vasishtha, Gautama, Gritish, Madha, Vamadeva, Vishwamitra, and Atri. The prominent gods of the Rig Veda are Indra, Agni, Varun, Rudra, Aditya, Vayu, Aditi, and Ashwini twins. Some of the prominent goodness and Usha the goddess of dog, Vag the goddess of speech, and Prithvi, the goddess of earth. Do you know that the most hymns spoke of universally recognized higher value of life such as truthfulness, honesty, dedication, sacrifices, politeness, and culture. The prayer are for seeking worldly prosperity and for the development of a highly cultured society along with religion. Rig Veda provide as a knowledge about social, political, and economic condition of an ancient India. Yajurveda. Yajur means sacrifice or worship. The Veda is considered mostly with rites and mantra of different sacrifices. It gives direction for the performance of the yajnas. It has both poetic and prose rendering, being a treatise of or ritual. It is the most popular of four Vedas. There are two major branches of Yajurveda, namely Shukla and Krishna Yajurveda, Vajrayani Samhita and Taittiriya Samhita. This reflects on the social and religion condition of India. Samved. Sam means melody of or songs. The Veda consists of 16,000 rags and ragins of musician notes out of total 18,075 verses only are original and others from the Rig Veda. The Sham Ved prescribe the tons of restriction of the hymns of the Rig Veda. It may call the book Chand Chand Saman. This book is evidence of the development of Indian music during this period. Atharvaved. Atharvaved, the Atharvaved is also known as the Brahm, Brahma Veda. It consists treatment of 99 diseases. The source of this Veda is traced to two rishis called Atharv and Agriraj. The Atharvaveda of immense value as it represents the religion ideas at an earlier period of civilization. It has two branches, the Palada and Sunaka. This book gives detailed information about the family, social, and political life of later Vedic period. In order to understand the Vedas, it is necessary to learn Vedangas or the limbs of the Vedas. These supplements of the Vedas provide education, grammar, and ritual, etymology, metrics, and astronomy. A good deal of literature grew around these subjects. It was written in the form of precept of the sutra style. A precept was called sutra because of its brevity. The most famous example of this pen is grammar astro Astrodhyay, which illustrate the rules of grammar and also throw light on society, economy, and culture of those times. Brahmanas and Aranyakas. After the four Vedas, a number of works called the Brahmanas were developed. These books gave a dedicated explanation of Vedic rituals and instruction and deal with the science of sacrifice. The latter portion of the Brahmanas were called the Aranyakas, while the final part of the Aranyakas are philosophic book named Upanishads, which belong to the latter stage of the Brahmana literature. Each of four Vedas have their own Brahmana books: Rigved and Kaushitiki and Aithiriya. Taittiriya belongs to Krishna Yajurved and Satpath belong to Shukla Yajurveda. Tandav, Panchvish and Jamanya belong to Atharva Ved. It is through them that we get a detailed information of the social, political, and religious life of the people. The Aranyakas deal with soil, birth, and death, and life belong it. These were studied and taught by men in Vanprastha, Munish and inhabitants living inside the forest. All these works were in Sanskrit. Initially, they were handed down orally and were put in writing much later. It is very difficult to determine the age of Vedas and also the time they were written. Max Muller says that Rig Ved was composed before 1000 BC, while according to Lokmanya Tilak, it appeared before 6000 BC. Distinguish between Shruti and Smriti. Both Shruti and Smriti represent categories of texts that are used to establish the rule of law within the Hindu tradition. Shruti is solely of divine origin and contain no specific concept of law. Because of the divine origin, it is preserved as a whole instead of verse by verse. With Shruti, the desire is more towards recitation and preservation of its divine attributes and not necessary towards understanding and interpreting the oral tradition like that found in Smriti. The Upan Upanishads. The word Upanishad is derived from Upa nearby and Nishad to sit down, that is sitting down near. Groups of people sit near the Guru to learn from him. The Guru Shishya param, parampara or tradition. The Upanya the up, the Upan The Upanishad mark the culmination of Indian thought and are the final part of the Vedas. As the Upanishads contain abstract and difficult discussion of unlimited philosophical problem. They were taught to the people at the end. That is why they are called end of Vedas. Vedas are started with the worship of the manifest as that it obvious and then slowly transformed to the knowledge of unmanifest. There are more than 200 known Upanishads. One of the Muktika gives a list of 108 Upanishads, this number corresponding to the holy number of beads on a mala or Hindu rosary. The Upanishad from an important of all literally legal legacy. They deal with questions like the origin of the universe, life and death, the material and spiritual world, nature of knowledge, and many other questions. The earliest Upanishads are Bri- Brihad, Brihadranyaka, which belong to Shukla Yajurveda, and Chand Yogya, which belong to the Samved. Some of the other important Upanishads are the Atriya, Kena, Katha, Upanishad. Try and understand some of other important Upanishad on your own. Read them and you will find a whole new world of Indian philosophy opening in front of you. There are more books selling on the Upanishad. Start with a small story, get interested in them, and then go to a whole book of any Upanishad. The Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Our two great epics are the Ramayana and Mahabharata. The Ramayana of Valmiki is the origin Ramayana. It is called Adhikavya and Maharishi Valmiki is known as Adhikavi. The Ramayana represents a picture of an ideal society. The other epic, the Mahabharata, was written by Vedvyas. Originally, it was written in Sanskrit and contained 8,800 verses and was called Jaya, or the collection dealing with victory. These were raised to 24,000 and came to known as Bharata, named after one of the earliest Vedic tribes. tribes. The final complements brought the verses to 100,000, which came to known as Mahabharata or Satashri. Samhita. It contains narrative, descriptive, and dedicated material relating to conflict between the Kaur- Kauravas and the Pandavas. The Mahabharata and Ramayana have several renderings in different Indian languages. The Mahabharata contains the famous Bhagavad Gita, which contains the essence of divine wisdom and is truly a universal gospel. Through it very ancient scripture spiritual is found is its fundamental teaching are in use even today. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explained to Arjuna his duties as a warrior and prince and elaborate on different yogic and Vedantic philosophy with example and analogies. This makes Gita a concise guide to Hindu philosophy and a parochial self-contained guide to life. In modern times, Swami Vivekanand, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Mahatma Gandhi, and many others used the text to help inspire the Indian independence movement. This was mainly because the Bhagavad Gita spoke of positiveness in human action. It also spoke of duty towards God and human beings alike. Forgetting about the result, you will appreciate the fact that Gita has been translated nearly in all the main languages of the world. Purans. The Purans occupy a unique position in sacred literature of Hindu. They are regarded next in importance only to the Vedic and epics. There are said to 18 Purans and about the same number of Purans. Some of the well known as Puran are Brahma, Bhagavad, Padma, Vishnu, Vayu, Agni, Matsya, and Garuda. Their origin can be traced as far back as the time when Buddhism was gaining importance and was a major opponent of the Brahmanic culture. Purans were Purans Purans are mythological work which propagate religion and spiritual message through pra- uh, parables and fables. They have a potent influence in the development of the religion lives of the people. The Purans follow the lines of the epics, and the earliest Purans were compiled to the Gupta period. They are full of myths, story, legend, and sermons that were meant for the education the common people. The Purans contain important geographical information, histories, and deal with the mastery of creation, recreation, and dynastic geology. This period also saw the completion of various smritis or laws books written in verse. The phase of writing commentaries on the Smritis begin after the Gupta period. Amrish Amrashimaha, the Sanskrit lexicographer, state that a Purana should describe five topics. First is Sarga, like creation, and second is Pratisarga, secondary education. Third is Vema, genealogy. Fourth is Manvantara, Manu, period, and Vamshankriyata, dynastic history. Buddhist and Jain literature in Pali, Prakrit, and Sanskrit. The religious book of the Jains and the Buddhists refer to historical person of or incident. The earliest Buddhist works were written in Pali, which was spoken in Magadha, Magadha, and South Bihar. The Buddhist works can be divided into canonical, canonical, and non-canonical. The canonical literature is best represented by the trip, um, tripi, Tripikas, that is their basket, Vinaya Pitika, Sukta Pitika, and Abhidhamma Pitaka. Vinay Pitaka deals with rules and regulation of daily life. Sutta Pitaka contains dialogues and discourages on morality and deals with dharma, while Abhidharma Pitaka deals with philosophy and metaphysics. It includes discourages on various subjects such as ethics, psychology, theories of knowledge, and metaphysical problems. The non canonical literature is best represented by the Jatakas. Jatakas are the most interesting story in previous births of the Buddhas. It was believed that before he was finally born as Gautama, the Buddha practicing dharma passed through more than 550 births in many cases, even in the form of animals. Each birth story is called a Jataka. The Jataka through invaluable night on the social and economic condition ranging from the 16th century BC to 2nd century BC. They also make incidental reference to political events in the age of Buddha. The Jain texts were written in Prakrit and were finally compiled in the 6th century AD in Val- Valabhi in Gujarat. The important works are known as Angas, Upangas, Prakirnas, Chedab Sutras, and Mala Sutras. Among the important Jain scholars, reference may be made to Haribhadra Shuri, 8th century AD, and Hemchandra Suri, 20th century. Jainism helped in the growth of rich literature comprising poetry, philosophy, and grammar. These works contain many passages which helps us reconstruct the political history of Eastern Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. The Jain tested refer repeatedly to trade and traders. Ancient India literature can be placed in two categories. First is religion and non-religion or secular religion literature as the four Vedas. Rig Veda, the oldest of the Vedas, contains 1028 hymns known as Sukta or well said. Samved contains the hymn that sung by a special class of priests at the time of Shoma sacrifices. Yajurveda contains hymns that are recited at the time of ordinary sacrifices. Atharva Veda contain a collection of songs, spells, magical charms of the evil spirit, etc. The Brahmanas attacked to the Vedas. They explain in detail the value and efficiency of sacrifices. Arankya are the concluding portion of the Brahmanas. Brahmanas and Upanishads mean to be learned sitting near the Guru. Epics like the Ramayana and Mahabharata, Buddhist literature, Jain literature, and other Sanskrit literature. We also have a large body of books dealing with the various science, law, medicine, and grammar. To this class belong to the law books called the Dharma Shastra and Smritis, together known as Dharma Shastras. The Shastras were compiled between 5000 and 20,000. Between 500 and 2000 BC. These laid down duties for different varans as well as for the kings and their officials. They prescribed the rules according to which property had to held, sold, and inherited. They also prescribe punishment for person guilty or of assault, murder, and adultery. The Manusmriti tells us about the role of man and woman in society, their code of conduct and relationship with each other. Kautilya, Aris, Aris, uh, Arithastra is an important treatise of the modern times. It reflects to the state of society and economy at the time and provide rich material for the study of ancient Indian polity and economy. The work of Sud- Bhasha Sudhraka, Kalidasa, and Banabhatta provide us with glimpse of the social and cultural life of northern and central India in times. The Guptas and Harsha, the Gupta period is also saw a development of Sanskrit grammar based on the work of Panini and Patanjali. Famous Sanskrit authors, the Gupta period. The Gupta period was India's golden age of culture and one of the greatest and most glorious time. The Gupta kings patronized the classical Sanskrit literature. They helped liberally the scholars and poets of Sanskrit. They enrich the Sanskrit language. In fact, Sanskrit language become the languages of culture and educated people. Many great poets dramatically and so scholars appear during this period and works in Sanskrit reached the great heights. Kalidas. Poet Kalidas wrote many beautiful poems and plays. His work in Sanskrit are considered the gems of literature. He wrote passionate plays and poem. His wonderful skill is exhibited in the poem Meghaduta Ritu Shabhra Kumar Sambhavam and Vamsha. His plays are Abhijan, Shakuntalam, Vikram Varshi and Malvi Kangni Mithram. Vishakutha Vishakudda was another great playwright of this period. He wrote two great historical plays like Mudra Raksha and Dev Chandra Gupta. Rudrika. He wrote an exciting play, Mrichika Katyam or the Toy Cart. It is a great source of socio-cultural condition of that time. Harisana Harisena. Among the great poets and playwrights the Gupta period was Harisena. He wrote poet praising the valor of Samudragupta. It is inscribed on Allahabad's pillar. Bhasha. He wrote 13 plays which echo the lifestyle of the era along with the prevalent belief and culture. The the Kushana kings patronized Sanskrit scholars. Ashwa, Ashwagosha wrote the Buddha Charitra, which is the biography of the Buddha. He also wrote Saundharan Dharanda, which is a fine example of Sanskrit poetry. India produced great literary work on subjects like maths, astronomy, astrology, agriculture, and geography, etc. Books on medicine were written by Charak and on surgery or by Shastra Madhava wrote a book on pathology. Books written in astronomy by Varaha, Varahahira and Aryabhatta and on astrology or by Lad, Ladacharya and all achieved prominence. There is none that and complete with Brahma Brahma Brahmahira's Brishi Samhita, Aryabhatiya and Vedanga Jyotisha. The poet medieval period in northern India saw the rise of Sanskrit literature in Kashmir and Shomadev Katha, Sharit Sagar and Kalhan uh, Rajatar Rajataragini are of historical importance. It gives a vivid account of the kings of Kashmir. The Geet Govind of Jaydev is the finest poem of Sanskrit literature of this period. Besides numerous work on different aspects of art and architecture, uh, sculpture, iconography, and related fields. Telugu, Kannada, and Malayalam literature. The four Dravan, Dravadhan languages Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, and Malayalam developed their own literature. Tamil being the oldest, these languages began writing earlier and produced the Sangam literature, the oldest literature in the Tamil. Telugu literature. The Telugu literature. The Vijayanagara period was golden age of Telugu literature. Nachna Samandha, a court poet of Bukka, I produced a poetical work titled Ut- Uttar Uttar Har, Uttar Harivasham and Krishna Krishna Dev Krishna Devarya 1509 to 1529. The greatest of the Vijayanagara emperor was poet of great metric. His work Amukta Malyada is regarded as an excellent prabandha in Telugu literature. Eight Telugu literary luminaries popularly known as Astigation adorned his court. Among them, Alashni Pidhana, the author of Manucharitram, was the greatest court among them. Alashani Pedana, the author of Manucharitram, was the great court among them. He was known as Andhra Kavita Pitamaha. The author seven poet of the group were um, Nandi Timana, the author of Parijata Parannam Madhyagari Malayana Durgajati Alarju Ramabhadra Kavi Pingali Surgana Rama Raja Bhushanna and Tenali Ramakrishna Durjati, a devotee of Shiva, composed two poetical works of great merit known as Kalash Kela Hashiwara Mahatmayam and Kalahasteshwara Satakam Pingali Shurana, composed to work Ragved Pandavyam and Kalapuram Pandavyam in former. The Attamdam are literally feet telling the story of Ramayana and the Mahabharata simultaneously. Tenali Ramakrishna, the court jester, was an interesting figure of the Krishna Devaraya court. His practical jokes on high-placed men of the time are recounted with pleasure even today. Ramakrishna was the author Pangur, Pangurunga Mahatmayam. Rama Raj Bhushana was the author of Varshu Charitram. He was also known as Bhattu Mariti. His other work include Nara Palyam and Hari Harishchandra Nepopathanam. It is a poetical work on the model of Ragvidham. One can read in its stories of Nala as well as Harishchandra Madhyagiri Malana work. Rajesh Kharacharitra is a Prabhananda dealing with the wars and loves of Rajesh Khera, king of Avanti. Ayurlarju Ramabhadra was the author of two works, Ramabhadram and Sakalkanda Shara Sanguram. Kannada literature. Apart from Telugu, Vijayanagara rules extend the patronage to Kannada and Sanskrit writes as well as many Jain scholars contributed to the growth of Kannada literature. Madhava wrote Dharma Dharmanath Puran or fifth Tirtha, Tirthakara. Another Jain scholar Uritha Vilasha wrote Dharma Parikshi. The Sanskrit work of the period include Yadav Bhayadram by Vedanta Deshika and Parashara Smriti Vakyam of Madhavyacharya. Kannada language developed fully after the 10th century AD. The earliest known as literary work in Kannada in Kabir Jamang, written by Raj Trakhatha King Naripatunga Amugabhadra I Pamma, known as father of Kannada, wrote his great poetic work Adi Purana and Vikramarjiva Vijaya in the 10th century AD. Pamma lived in the court of Chalukya Arikeshariya in the poetic skill, beauty of description, delineation of character, and developed of Rasha. Pamma, his unrived Ponna and Ranna were two other poets who lived during the reign of Rashtrakuta Krishna III. Ponna wrote an epic named Santi Purana and Ranna wrote Ajit Ajitna Ajitnatha Purano. Together, Pamma and Ponna and Rana earned the title Ratnantrayam, the three gems. In the 13th century was feats were achieved in Kannada literature. Uh, Harishwarya wrote Harishchandra Kavya and Somantha Charitra, where Bandhu Verma wrote Harivarshram Bhadra and Jiva Sombhadna under the patronage of latter Hoyalasa rulers. Several literary works were produced. Rudra Bhatta wrote Jagan, Jagannathya Anadas Madana Vijaya or Kabi Gara Kava is a root of special inert in pure Kannada without the mixture of Sanskrit work. Mallikarjun Sukti Surendravara, the first anthology of Kannada, and Kesarja Shabd Manidhar Panna or grammar are wrote to other standard work in Kannada language. Kannada literature flourished considered between the 14th and 16th century under the patronage of the Vijayanagara kings poets. All religion groups made important contribution to it. Kunurana, Kunuran, Kunura Vyasa wrote Bharata and Narahari wrote Trave Ramayana. This is the first Rama Katha in Kannada composed on basis of Valmiki's Ramayana. Lakshmi, Lakshmi Mishra, who lived in 17th century, wrote Gemini Bharata and earned the title of Kamatha Karikattanvana Charitra, the spring of Karnataka mango grove. The other eminent poet of period was the great Sarvajana, popularly known as pupil poet. His aphoristic tripadi three-lined composition serve as source of wisdom and ethics. A special mention may be made of Honannamma, perhaps the first outstanding poetess in Kannada. Her Hadividya Dharma, duty of devout wife, is a compendium of ethics. Malayalam literature. Malayalam is spoken in Kerala and adjoining area. The language of Malayalam emerged around the 11th century AD. By 15th century, Malayalam was recognized as an independent language. Bhasha Kautilya, a commentary on Aristotle and Sandhyansyan, are two great works. Rama Penikakkar and Ramanujan and Thanshan are well known authors of Malayalam literature. Through it developed much later compared to other South Indian language. Malayalam has made a mark a powerful medium of expression. Now a large number of jour- uh, journals, newspapers and magazines are published in Malayalam. When people read and write in their own language and they enjoy it more, this is because language is a part of their culture. It is so well interwoven in their social life, and they can express and feel their emotion as well as their own language. This must also be case with you and your language also. Tamil or Sangama literature. Tamil has written language are known as since beginning of the Charis Charistian era. It is therefore no wonder that considered Sangama literature was produced in earlier 4th century of Christian era, although it was finally compiled by 680 poets who in these assemblies were patronized by kings and chief, chieftains produced the Sangama literature over a period of 3 to 4 centuries. Poets, bards, and writers, authors came from various parts of South India to Madhurya. Such assemblies were called Sangamas, and the literature produced in these assemblies was called Sang- Sangamas literature. The contribution of Tamil sons like Thiruvalluvar, who wrote Kural, which has been translated into many languages, are noteworthy. The Sangama literature is a collection of long and short poems composed by various poets in face of numerous heroes and historians. They are secular in nature and a very high quality. Three such sangamas were held. The poem collected in the first sangam have been lost. In a second sangam, about 2,000 poems have been collected. There are about 30,000 lines of poetry which are arranged in 8 anthologies called Itu, Itukoi. There are two main groups, the Panthrikia Kanaku, the 18 lower collection, and particular the 10 songs. The former is generally assumed to be longer than a latter and considered to be more historical importance. Through work, Kural is divided into three parts. The first part deals with epics, and the second part and polity and government, and the third part with love. Beside the Sangama test, we have test called Tolkappiyam, which deal with grammar and poetry. In addition, we have the twin epics of Silappatikaram and Manimekalai. These two were composed around the 6th century AD. The first is considered as the brightest gem of Tamil literature and deals with love story. The second epic was written by a grain merchant of Mad- Madhuri. These epics throw light on the socio-economic life of Tamils from 2nd century to 6th century AD. From the 6th to 12th century AD, the Tamil devotions poem written by Nayamar's sons who sung in praise of Shaivism and Alvars heard the great bhakti movements which afflued to the entire Indian subcontinent. During this period, Kambhar- Kambharbayam and Periya Puranam were two Tamil literary classic writers. Heritage is the sum total of intellectual treasure that is passed on from one generation to other. Sanskrit is the most ancient language of India. Rig Veda is the oldest and richest literature heritage of mankind. The Upanishads have influenced the greatest philosophers of the world. Our epics, the Ramayana and Mahabharata, still dominate the social ethos of our country. The Purans provide the guiding light of the masses. Jainism laid emphasis on good conduct and morality and preaches ahi- ahima, truthfulness and austerity. Jataka tells are an invaluable source of knowing the thoughts and lives of the people during that period. Buddhist sanghas become centers of great learning. There are invaluable ancient treatises on law, political science, medicine, surgery, biology, chemistry, and architecture. Tamil literature is famous as Sangam literature. Sanskrit is the root of many Indians um, languages, and